So today, we're diving into a transaction that, well, for most people, it's the second biggest financial decision they'll ever make.
Right after buying a house, yeah.
Exactly. Buying or selling a car. And it is such a huge commitment, not just the price, but, it impacts your budget, your safety, your stress levels for years to come.
It really does. And we know you're looking for that shortcut to solid, thorough knowledge.
That's our mission today.
Absolutely. The material we've pulled together for this deep dive is incredibly practical. It really guides you through the entire life cycle of owning a vehicle. We're talking about the tools to assess the true cost, not just the sticker price, and how to master those intimidating negotiation rooms,
Right, to avoid the common pitfalls.
the ones that cost you thousands.
Okay, so we've broken this down into 4 stages. First, we'll set the financial checklist you need before you even start looking.
Then we get hands-on.
Yeah, the physical inspection and test drive, which is so critical for used cars. Then third, we'll arm you with negotiation tactics and financing know-how.
To put the power back in your hands.
And finally, we'll flip it around and look at how to maximize your car's value when it's your turn to sell. Okay, let's unpack this. And let's start where I think most people get it wrong. They just focus on that big number on the windshield.
The sticker price.
Yeah. And when you're dreaming about a new car, that's all you see. But it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
It is. And the essential concept here is what the sources call the total cost of ownership, or TCO.
TCO. Okay.
And we really need to shift our mental focus from, say, the monthly payment to the lifetime financial burden of that vehicle.
Because if you don't, you can get into a lot of trouble.
A huge amount.
Mm.
TCO is critical because it includes not just the price, but registration fees, fuel costs, insurance premiums, which can vary wildly, and crucially, maintenance.
So you might be able to afford the payment, but you can't actually afford to run the car.
That's the trap, exactly.
That is a huge mental shift. And a big factor in that TCO has to be the whole new versus used debate. A new car gives you that peace of mind, right? You get the warranty, the latest features, but you pay a massive premium for it.
You pay that premium through something called depreciation. It's the single biggest cost of new car ownership.
Right.
Our sources show it can be brutal.
How brutal are we talking?
Some cars, especially, luxury models or niche vehicles, can lose 35, even 40% of their value in just the first 3 years.
Wow.
That just skews the entire TCO calculation way in favor of the used market.
Okay, so if used is a better value, what's the mandatory trade-off? What risks are you taking on?
Diligence. You have to be diligent. It means a mechanical inspection from a trusted third-party mechanic is absolutely non-negotiable.
And you need that vehicle history report.
You must get it. And you're checking for consistent mileage, any accident history, and really importantly, any title issues. A salvage or flood title can just crush your resale value later on.
And there's that middle ground, right? Certified pre-owned or CPO. What exactly makes that worth the slightly higher price?
CPO is kind of the sweet spot for a lot of buyers. It's a used car that's gone through a really rigorous multi-point inspection by the manufacturer.
So it's been vetted.
It's been vetted, and the key thing is it comes with an extended warranty backed by the manufacturer. So you get the value of a used car with a good slice of that new car peace of mind.
Now, beyond the cost, there's safety and reliability. For safety, it's all about the data. Where do you start?
You start with the crash test ratings. Look at organizations like the NHTSA or the IIIJS. But let's dig a little deeper into the modern stuff. Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, or ADAS.
ADAS. I think a lot of people see those features like lane departure warnings or blind spot monitoring as just, safety gadgets.
They are, but they're also a financial factor,
Okay.
a big one. Insurers are now recognizing that systems like automatic emergency braking seriously reduce risk,
So having good ADAS can actually lower your insurance premiums.
significantly in some cases, which, again, lowers your total cost of ownership. It's a detail that a lot of people miss.
That's a great tip. Now, for reliability. Everyone knows to check consumer reports, but what's a more granular detail that really impacts TCO?
It's the availability and the cost of parts. I mean, think about it. A car with specialized parts, maybe a high-end import or a low production model, is going to cost a fortune to maintain.
Right.
If a common part on a mainstream sedan costs, say, $200 and is available anywhere, but the same part on a niche performance car is $800 and has to be special ordered, that difference is going to add up over the life of the car no matter what its initial reliability rating was.
Okay, so the research is done. Now we're moving to the physical car. This is the moment of truth where you have to become a bit of a detective.
Absolutely.
And that exterior inspection has to go way beyond just looking for a few scratches or
It
dings.
really does.
Yeah.
You're hunting for evidence of previous damage. And the biggest red flag is any kind of mismatched paint or inconsistent paintwork.
What does that look like? Is it obvious?
It can be subtle. You might see a slight difference in color between a fender and a door, or maybe the texture of the paint, sometimes called orange peel, looks different in one spot.
So you're looking for a cover-up, basically.
You're looking for a cover-up. It's a telltale sign of a past repair, which means a past accident.
And what if the paint looks fine? What about the structure itself?
Look at the gaps. The gaps between the body panels, the doors, the trunk, the hood. They should be perfectly even all the way around.
Okay.
If you see uneven gaps or a door that doesn't quite line up, that's the strong sign of past structural damage that was poorly repaired. And, of course, get down and look underneath for bad rust or any fluid leaks.
Oil, coolant.
Any of it. A few drips are a clear sign of expensive repairs coming your way.
So after the outside check, the real health assessment starts under the hood. What are we listening for when we start it up?
You're listening for specific sounds.
Mhm.
Knocking, grinding, or a rattling noise. A rattle that disappears right away might be minor, but a persistent knocking sound that's often a major, potentially fatal engine flaw.
If you hear that, you just walk away.
You thank them for their time and you leave immediately.
The sources also give us this great visual diagnostic we can do just by looking at the exhaust.
Yeah, this is a fantastic shortcut. Watch the color of the smoke. If you see persistent white smoke, that often means coolant is leaking into the engine. Maybe a head gasket failure.
Okay, what about black smoke?
Black smoke usually points to a fuel system problem.
Ah.
The engine is running too rich, wasting gas. But the one you really have to worry about is blue smoke.
And that means...
That means it's burning oil, likely due to worn piston rings or seals. It's a clear sign of significant long-term engine wear.
Got it. So once we check all the electronics, the windows, the AC, it's time for the test drive. And this is not a joyride, it has to be a focused checklist.
Completely. First, just ergonomics. Can you see well? Are the controls easy to reach? Then you get into the mechanics. The brakes. They need to stop the car quickly and steadily without any vibration in the steering wheel.
If the wheel is shaking when you brake, that's bad.
That's warped rotors or a caliper issue. Needs to be fixed.
And what about the transmission, especially in an automatic?
It should be seamless. When you're accelerating or slowing down, you shouldn't feel any hesitation or violent jerks between gears. That can signal an internal failure, which is one of the most expensive repairs possible.
And a really simple final check that can save you from a world of hurt.
The dashboard lights. It's so easy to forget. When you turn the key to the on position, all the warning lights should light up for a second.
To show the bulbs are working.
Exactly. And then they must all turn off after the engine starts. A check engine light that stays on is your final clear signal to either get a mechanic's opinion or just walk away.
So after all that meticulous research and the physical inspection, you know the car's real condition and its true market value. That knowledge is your leverage.
It is, but only if you know how to use it in the negotiation room.
Right.
So we've distilled it down to 4 golden rules. Rule number 1, do your homework. It's foundational. You have to know the fair market value from sites like Kelley Blue Book or Edmunds, and you set your budget before you walk in.
So you're negotiating from a position of fact, not emotion.
Precisely. And that leads to Rule 2, which is purely psychological but maybe the most powerful.
Which is?
Rule 2, be prepared to walk away. Your willingness to leave if the deal isn't right is your single strongest negotiating tool. Dealers know an emotionally invested buyer is an easy target.
You have to be willing to leave. Okay, now rule 3. This is about avoiding that classic dealer trick of shifting your focus.
This is where so many deals go wrong for the buyer. Rule 3, focus only on the total price. Never ever negotiate based on the monthly payment.
Because they can just stretch out the loan term?
They could switch it to 72, 84 months and the payment looks great, but you end up paying thousands more in interest. You have to insist on the out-the-door price. That's the only number that matters.
The all-in price. Vehicle, taxes, fees, everything.
Everything.
Okay, that makes sense. But what if I have a car to trade in? When do I bring that up?
And that's Rule 4. Separate the transactions. Don't even mention your trade-in until you have a firm, agreed-upon price for the car you're buying.
Why is that so important?
They do the trade-in shuffle. They might offer you an extra $1,000 for your trade, but then they quietly add $2,000 to the price of the new car. Negotiate the new car price first, lock it in. Then talk about the trade-in.
Right. And speaking of financing, you need to have your options researched before you even start negotiating.
Way before. The most powerful option is getting a pre-approved loan from your own bank or credit union.
So you walk in with your financing already sorted.
Exactly. It gives you a hard ceiling on what you can spend and a benchmark interest rate. You'll know immediately if the dealer's financing offer is competitive or if they've just marked it up for their own profit.
Then you have the dealer's options. First is just dealership financing.
It's convenient, it's a one-stop shop, but unless it's a special promotional rate, they're often a middleman. They can mark up the interest rate to make an extra profit on the loan itself.
Which brings us to manufacturer financing.
This is where you see those eye-catching 0% APR deals. But you have to be careful. They usually require absolutely excellent credit, and they often only apply to very specific models the dealer wants to get off the lot.
And the last option, which you see more with private sales, is a personal loan.
Right. It's an unsecured loan, so the car isn't collateral. That's why they almost always have much higher interest rates. It's really a tool for, smaller purchases or when a secured auto loan just isn't an option. And it's so important to think about selling because your car's resale value directly funds your next purchase. And what the research makes clear is that retaining value starts the day you buy the car.
And it's all about proactive, preventative maintenance. The number one thing seems to be the documentation is key.
It is. It's not enough to say you changed the oil. You need verifiable records. Follow the manufacturer's schedule and keep every single receipt.
Because when a buyer sees that thick folder of records, it just screams, well-maintained car.
It eliminates uncertainty. It immediately raises the perceived value. And this isn't just about big mechanical jobs. Fix the small things promptly. A chipped windshield, a broken taillight.
Because a buyer will add up all those little things and subtract it from their offer.
They will. And they'll often subtract more than the actual repair cost.
And cosmetics are a huge part of it, even if they don't affect how the car drives.
A massive part. You need to wash and wax the car and really protect the interior from sun damage. UV rays cause fading and cracking. Remember, a buyer's first impression is visual. A clean, non-cracked interior tells a story of careful ownership.
So finally, let's talk strategic decisions. When is the best time to sell?
Timing is everything. The sources point to two big factors. First, try to sell before hitting major mileage milestones. That 100,000-mile mark is a huge psychological barrier for buyers. And second, watch the market. If a totally redesigned new model of your car is about to come out, sell your older one before the new one hits the showrooms.
Because that will instantly devalue your car. And that brings us to the final dilemma. Private sale versus trade-in. This feels like a simple calculation of time versus money.
It really is. A private sale will almost always get you a higher price, maybe 10 to 20% more. You're capturing the profit the dealer would have made.
But it's a ton of work.
A ton. Advertising, vetting buyers, meeting strangers. It takes a lot of time and effort, and there are safety concerns.
And the trade-in.
The trade-in offers pure convenience and speed. You drop off the car, the deal is done. Plus, in many places, you get a tax benefit because you only pay sales tax on the difference in price.
But you have to accept a lower value.
You do. The dealer has to buy it low enough to recondition it and sell it for a profit. It really comes down to what you value more, your time or maximizing every last dollar.
This has been incredibly thorough. I think the core takeaway for you, our listener, is that you're now armed with a toolkit. You understand total cost of ownership, you know the specific red flags to look for, and you have the negotiation strategy focusing on that final out-the-door price to go into the market with real confidence.
Confidence really does come from preparation. And building on that, we talk about how important maintenance records are for resale value. This raises an interesting question for you to think about. We know documentation is key, but how much weight should you put on where that maintenance was done? For example, a high-cost service at the dealership versus a detailed record from a trusted independent mechanic who used the exact same parts. That little nuance in perceived versus actual value can make a really big difference in the end.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.